Ladies and gentlemen, what's good, y'all? It's the Chillmeister Chris Gary. And for the first time in a while, I think it's been a while. I'm not sure if it has been, but I got Just Bleed Fan with me. And this is a special edition of the Focus Fights audio podcast. Whereas this time we're talking about a crazy, for one, it's a crazy ass thing that you know, that Ryzen would have a weekday show that took place last weekend. And yeah, we know it was Bunko no Hi, a National Culture Day holiday in Japan that took place last week. Hence why some of the best events that they had over the course of the last week have been taking place on weekdays, not like weekends, so to speak. But still, though, I got Just Bleed Fan, who's all the way down in Florida with me. JBF, what were your overall thoughts about this show before we actually get into the show?
Well, thank you for having me again. It has been a little while. I watch every Ryzen card, and I was very pleased that they made the show free and wide open without any kind of login or anything, right on Ryzen.tv to watch in your browser. So I think that was one of the best parts about it. Of course, they have a big show coming up on New Year's Eve that we're going to talk about later. So it's not uncommon for an MMA promotion to put a free card to show their stuff and try to promote the upcoming pay-per-view.
And you know what? It is crazy because, again, we mentioned the fact that this event was shown for free. We mentioned the fact that this was shown on a weekday. Obviously, Ryzen, even though they don't really have, I wouldn't say they don't have the best interest in mind to care for North American fans, because obviously, if they didn't, they wouldn't be putting out English language trailers to promote the event. They wouldn't be putting out, feelers for international audiences, or like myself, an international podcaster from outside of Japan. They wouldn't be giving us feelers and shouting us out. And in the case of me saying the superior rule set, using my tagline and running away with it, so to speak. But still, though, when it comes down to Ryzen's success, you have to figure out this point. The fact that they're actually caring about putting on quality fights and putting over quality production, while a certain three-letter promotion who just puts out slop week in and week out and are now indebted in a gambling situation or fight fixing scandal, it shows the whole apples to oranges aspect, so to speak, of the fight sports world these days, right?
Yeah, I was very impressed also that they had a special preview show also free on Ryzen. By the way, you said it was a weekday show. For us here in North America, it was Sunday night going into Monday morning. So I still consider that the weekend. But yeah, it started about, I think we recall, it was 9:30 p.m. here in the East Coast, and it went till 5 in the morning or something like that. But anyway, I was trying to make the point that they are indeed catering a little bit more to the English-speaking audience because they had during the weigh-ins, they had a preview show live and free, and it had Shingo, the matchmaker, and I don't remember the name of the other guy.
The other guy is named Hafid Darbaki, HAFID DARBAKI.
Right. And the two of those gentlemen, one of whom is in our chat, they did a show in English. I didn't know Shingo-san could speak what sounded like natural English and an American accent. It was explained to me that he grew up part of his childhood in America, so that's why he speaks perfect English. So I was blown away by that. They actually, just like the UFC does on the, I always watch the pre-fight show, the weigh-in show. There's a lot of what we call, what they call in the industry, shoulder programming. It's kind of a weird term, but that's what they're talking about. Weigh-ins, press conferences, post-fight show, pre-fight show. The fact that they made that effort and did that in English, that just tells me that there is a lot more potential. When you have the matchmaker who speaks perfect English, I had no idea. I know Saki Kabara, he speaks English to an extent, but if Shingo speaks so well, there's no doubt to me that they could just do little things like that, and cater to the wider English speaking audience, not just in America, but around the world where many people speak English as a first or second language.
Well, when it comes down to Shingo, from what I've heard, he grew up in Chicago and knew how to speak perfect English, from an early age,
Sure.
you know, living in the United States. And he also was once vying to become a fighter for King of the Cage before realizing, hey, this fighting stuff's not going to work out for me. I might as well go ahead and go into the business world. And
Right.
that's exactly what Shingo did. And, thankfully he's better doing that rather than getting punched in the face himself. But, when it comes down to Rising, it's like you said, all the ancillary programming, Rising Confessions having English subtitles, or in some unfortunate case, auto dubbing, which I hate.
Mhm.
I do not like the fact of hearing my voice being translated, not only in a different language per se. If there's an interpreter just listening to this, I'm pretty sure he or she is just waiting for the opportunity to jot down my mess ups in another language so that the people in their respective tongue can laugh at me. But still, though, you know, when it comes down to Rising's ancillary programming, Rising preparations, Rising confessions, the weigh-in show that just happened, I think, just last weekend before the big event. I think that Rising needs to do more of those, especially considering that, you got Rising as a promotion. You got Nobuyuki Sakakibara as the head honcho of the promotion. You got Michael Chiavello, the main commentator for the promotion, at least as of last summer, aside from him doing work for other promotions in his native Australia. They have all been recognized by the World MMA Awards, for their hard work and their sacrifices to the fight world, even though, let's face it, Rising's only been around for 10 years and they're just now getting this recognition. I think they need to do more to try and help put over themselves to the Western Hemisphere, not basically try and kiss enough ass to basically try and be a carbon copy of what goes on here in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, there's no reason somebody like Shingo can't, occasionally try to get himself, involved with the Western media. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, only on the bigger cards. Like I would, like for example, the New Year's Eve card. Why wouldn't Ariel Helwani might want to talk to him? Somebody like that. That's huge, mind share in the Western and worldwide MMA community. So yeah, I think they're taking the right steps to get themselves out there. I know Japan and Japanese language is their main audience. I understand that, but yeah, any little step they can make to cater to the fans around the world, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, of course. And before we talk about the show outright, because I don't know if you watched the prelims or not, but when you seen this event take place at this new arena, Glion, or G Lion Arena as they call it, Glion is how it's spelled, but still though, when you look at this particular venue, I would say upon first glance, it looks like a college basketball arena here in the States. It looks like, I don't know, take a wild guess. It looks like what the Exotech Arena down on the campus of the University of Florida looks like. At least from the interior. But when you've seen this particular arena have this fight set up, what were your first thoughts of seeing that cage in the middle of that new venue?
Yeah, it looked good. I thought it was an appropriate size. It's not the Saitama Super Arena, but It's not the convention hall in Korea either. It's a nice venue that they could fill, that looks good. Probably everybody had decent seats, even with the cage in the way. And I don't mind the cage. I know that the ring is Ryzen's thing. It's one of their differentiators, but for uh, for a cage show, I thought it worked just fine.
Yeah, and I mean, come to think of it, it did manage to get a good amount of people into the building, and the building only seats about 10,000, or a little over 10,000, so to speak. But still, though, it's like when it comes to these new venues, and this is the second consecutive new venue that Ryzen has fought in over the last couple of months. I mean, when you think about the fact that upcoming at the New Year's Eve show, for Ryzen, they're going to basically be fighting in their last New Year's Eve show in Saitama for the foreseeable future, because Saitama Super Arena, which already has a name and lore and combat sports history, I mean, it's going to have to go through renovations. Do you think that when it comes to these newer arenas for Ryzen, that they're going to probably give Saitama Super Arena some pointers on how to make things at least look functional, so to speak?
Well, do you think that the Saitama Super Arena is like the best place for them to go consistently as long as it's available? I know it's got a storied history.
I mean, if it worked for, I mean, I wouldn't say that it worked for Dream, but when it came down to Ryzen's last 10 years, and I know this was probably the same with Pride when they had big shows, even though they most often had shows in big stadiums like Tokyo Dome, for instance. But when you can't think of Japanese MMA history and not think of the Saitama Super Arena, especially in the last 10 years when it comes down to Ryzen. I mean,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the New Year's Eve show
yeah,
for sure.
I understand that. We all are. But to be honest, let's go ahead and, I mean, before we jump ahead to Ryzen New Year's Eve, let's talk a little bit about Ryzen Landmark 12 that just took place last Sunday night, early Monday morning in Kobe, Hyogo, Japan. It was 18 fights on the card, 14 of them in MMA. And before we even get to talking about the main card per se, did you at least catch the prelims?
I did because it was early in the evening, relatively for me. I watched it live. We were all chatting in the chat room. I watched all the prelims live. I switched over to the main card on Ryzen.tv, and I made it all the way into the intermission. So I saw all but the last four fights, and then I was pleased that the next morning it was archived and I could watch the last four fights with breakfast.
Of course. And I mean, don't be ashamed that the dreaded intermission coon got you, because a lot of people were just, just as surprised as we were that an event like this would take place on a Sunday night while everybody was watching football for some reason.
I only watch fights, so I don't care about football. So that was Sunday night's great for me. I love when there's an MMA card on a Thursday or a Sunday, because it means I don't have to worry about it conflicting with the UFC or PFL or boxing or BKFC. I don't have to make that terrible decision. Well, I got to watch two things on two screens, and it's like a cacophony of noise, or just put one off and watch it, catch up with it the next day. So I liked it.
Right, right. I get what you mean, man. And by the way, Takumi is saying, "Hi, I am here. Domo arigato and konnichiwa, sir. How are you? Hope you're enjoying everything." But still, though, when it comes down to the prelims, I mean, because let's face it, the four other fights on this card, on the early card, were just local fighters basically making a way into, you know, selling seats, so to speak. They were seat fillers. But when you look at the fifth fight that took place on the prelims, Noelle Narita defeating Misaki Suda, otherwise known to some people as Itsuka Umisaki, no, Iruka Umisaki. And of course, Noelle got the win via second round armbar. Oh, and Takumi is saying Konnichiwa Konbanwa. Ohio des. But still, though, point of the matter is that Noelle defeated this woman via second round armbar submission. And considering the fact that the co-main event was a title showcase, I mean, do you think that Noelle has carved herself a future in Rising?
You know, they definitely need a little depth at super atom weight. So
Mm-hmm.
you got two young fighters, you know, relatively early in their career, and you know somebody got to win. So yeah, I mean, you can't just have you know, a champion and then just line people up without giving them at least, you know, one or two wins to be a challenger. So yeah, it was worth doing. I like seeing it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, because in a way, Rising needs depth. Rising needs bodies, and especially in the women's divisions, especially in the super atomweight division, they definitely need bodies on top. I wouldn't say bodies on top of bodies. I just think that they need at least a decent level of perception, so to speak, to have quality fighters domestically, as well as foreigners or gaijins coming in from all over the fucking world just to basically showcase themselves. I mean, wouldn't you agree on that?
Yeah, you know, I don't think Ryzen really wants to keep a big roster in any weight class.
Mm-hmm.
Not even in the women. Number one, there's probably not a lot of you know, decent women to fight, and number two, they do kind of just line them up, you know, one or two at a time. But hey, it's, you know, it's something. It's progress. There was another female fight. That one was at, according to Topology, 112 pounds. I don't know if those girls could make super atom or they're really, you know, straw weights. But
I mean, if in the case of that 112-pound fight, and we'll get to talking about the main card fights on down, from the main event on down momentarily. But when it comes down to those two at 112 pounds, I mean, they probably have hard times making it up to straw weight because they feel so tiny, and a hard time making it down to atom weight because they feel like they're too big to drop down to 105, let alone 108. Oh, and Takumi has a question for you. What made you become a JMMA fan? Is what he's trying to ask.
well, you know, I watch a lot of fights. You know, I don't only watch Japanese MMA. I watch, you know, all the major MMA and bare knuckle boxing. I watch some kickboxing. So I'm a fight fan in general. And but what makes Japanese MMA and Ryzen in particular unique, of course, is the rule set. As we always say in the chat room, the superior rule set.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's a differentiator from what they do in the unified rule set in most organizations. And then, you know, back in the day, you know, we're going back a decade now, but, you know, they had the 10-minute first round. You know, that was a difference. That's really gone, but still they have the, you know, the grounded knees and, you know, and then of course there's the ring. You know, a lot of times I think the ring is sometimes it could be awkward when the fighters get, you know, have to be repositioned and stuff like that. I hate when it breaks up the flow of the fight when they have to push them back inside. But you know, this one was in the cage, so it was, you know, the superior rule set in the cage. So that's what I like the most about it.
I see.
And
And
he's asking, did I also watch Pride? Well, I didn't see them live, most of them. I started watching MMA in 2005, like a lot of people, after The Ultimate Fighter and the UFC became popular. Really got into MMA from there, and I watched UFC, I watched WEC, Strike Force,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the other, promotions that were on TV back in the day. And of course, now it's a different era. A lot of those other promotions are gone. But yeah, I've gone back on Fight Pass and watched a lot of the Pride fights since then.
I see. I see. And now that we've basically gotten done with the feeling out process, let's go ahead and talk about the main fights, from the marquee fight on down. And obviously the attention was put on the main event, which is not really all that, you know, I wouldn't say it doesn't really surprise me that Ryzen cares about fighters who are only drawn to, just popularity. Because you had Kyohei Hakiwara, who, oh, and by the way, Takumi is saying, oh, I see. Thank you for your stories at JMMA.
You're welcome.
But yeah, going back to the main event, you had Kyohei Hakiwara, who vowed, oh, I'm never going to lose again. And then he went on this incredible streak of winning fights. I mean, it's like he started off his career like, oh, for the century, so to speak. He had this incredible run. I wouldn't say incredible run because he went 2-3 in his last 5, with both of those 2 wins coming by way of first round knockout against Toby Misek and Taisei Nishitani. And then all of a sudden, boom, he got knocked out by Kiyoma Akimoto back on last weekend in the second round, no less. And Akimoto is this top prospect coming in from Japan top team who just wants to continue to make his quest to be far more than just a super rookie. I mean, when you look at the result of this fight, and by the way, it was 3 minutes, 52 seconds of round 2. Akimoto defeated Hagiwara via ground and pound TKO. But when you look at this result, I mean, it begs me to ask the question, is Akimoto's star on the rise, pardon the pun? And what's next for Hagiwara?
Yeah, I'm pulling up here on Topology. Yeah, it was an exciting fight. I mean, Akimoto was a heavy favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a gambler, I always look at the odds.
Under-
So it's not surprising. He looked like a minus 500 fighter. He cleaned shop. So, that makes now what, 1, 2, 3 wins in a row: unanimous decision, rear naked choke, and ground and pound. So, in Ryzen, you could be a title contender with a streak like that.
So you're saying that Akimoto has a potential featherweight title opportunity in his crosshairs?
Yeah, maybe not next, but he should definitely get another big fight. Featherweight's one of the Ryzen's better weight classes. So,
I mean, that I can understand, especially considering the fact that, like we opined, Ryzen needs depth perception. Ryzen needs more bodies. And, we'll talk about it later, but the fact that Mikuru Asakura is getting the opportunity to fight Rajabali Shadulayev for the featherweight title, even though Asakura is coming off of a devastating loss to, of all people, Ren Hiramoto, it's just crazy, to be honest. That and the fact that Mikuru hasn't fought in over a year, that would also play into a factor. I mean, wouldn't you agree with me on that?
Mikuru is so popular, he gets opportunities other fighters wouldn't, right? So it doesn't.
Oh, wait, I forgot. I'm sorry. I forget to realize the dude just had a 2-fight winning streak, knocking out Chihiro Suzuki, then beating Kleber Koikeiers. But please continue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's very popular. So even on a 1-fight win streak, he's going to get opportunities. I'm not upset about it. I don't really hold Ryzen to the same like strict standard I might other promotions. Like in the UFC, if somebody gets a title shot that people think is not really deserved, oh, the bloggers and the YouTubers will be complaining, oh, this guy doesn't deserve it. But there's a business element to it, and in Ryzen, it's no different. So, yeah, line them up. I mean, their roster isn't that huge, so if somebody's on a 1 or 2 fight streak, they're popular. Line them up. Just make the fights and let them happen. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's the thing is, when it comes down to Ryzen, they always like to say, we're not a fighting championship. We're a fighting federation. They have an open door policy for a reason when it comes down to stuff like this. It's just the fact that when you got a guy in Mikuru Asakura who had an opportunity for the Ryzen featherweight title before, he actually fought in the first Ryzen featherweight title fight against Yutaka Saito over 5 years ago now. Coming up as of this recording, it'll be about 5 years since that first featherweight title opportunity against Yutaka Saito. But still, though, you got somebody in Asakura who, maybe a big star, but the dude choked under pressure before in title fights. I mean, what's to say that a guy like Akimoto won't get that opportunity and run away with it, so to speak? I mean, JBF, can you hear me on that?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm open to it. Let him fight the winner. If you think Akimoto is next, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Ryzen just needs to do more cards. Maybe just 1 or 2 more. I forget how many they did exactly this year, but they did take a few months off in the beginning of the year. So maybe just squeeze out 1 or 2 more cards just to give some more fighters these opportunities. I don't think it's worth getting your panties in a bunch over whether somebody this person should be next or that person should be next. Make a fight, let it happen. The next guy up is will get the opportunity.
Okay, and this event was their 7th event of 2025. The New Year's event will be their 8th. But before we continue on, what do you think should be next for Kyohei Hagiwara?
Well, I got him pulled up now. Hagiwara. So he was on a 2-fight win streak before this, right? He beat Toby Misek by knockout punches. And Nishitani by TKO. So that was a nice little streak. Mm-hmm. But now he's coming off a loss. And then if you go back before that, he was on a 3-fight losing streak. So, he's hit or miss, right? And a lot of times it's by finish,
Mm-hmm.
Finish or get finished.
Yep.
And there's definitely, a place on the roster for a fighter that fights that way, especially in Japan, having some losses. His record's actually upside down, 9-11. Yet,
what you're saying is he should have won a couple of those fights?
No, what I'm saying is that he should get more opportunities. Just put him up against another fun striker. He's knockout or get knocked out. Usually, he does have some decisions, and he has been rear naked. He lost a few times by submission. So, put him up against another striker.
Right, of course. So, all in all, when it came down to this fight, and you saw it, while you were having your breakfast, but what would you say would be the overall summary of this fight?
Well, the winner was very impressive. I mean, Akimoto. I want to see him fight again. When you start someone like that pretty quickly, and a nice highlight reel finish, let's get him booked. If he's healthy, let's get him booked. New Year's Eve probably too soon, but who knows what their next card is? Let's get him on a card coming up. Keep him relevant.
But then again, 8 weeks or now 7 weeks in this case isn't going to be enough time to, get people prepared for a fight. I mean, you at least need to have a 6 or 8 week training camp.
Yeah, if he's not able to turn around for New Year's Eve, maybe he wants to take the holidays off. He deserves it. Let him just keep him in mind for early next year then.
I see. And now let's go ahead and move on to the lone title fight of the evening, which was the second Rising World title fight inside the cage. That was Seiki Izawa defeating Saori Oshima, the little giant, who tried to shock the world but didn't, via unanimous decision. I mean, let's face it, this fight was a 15-minute struggle. I mean, I wouldn't say that Izawa knows how to finish a girl, but let's just say dominating them for 15 minutes doesn't really get the ball rolling if you're supposed to be a top 5 champion in one of the few promotions that carry your weight division, so to speak. But now she's going to be given a true test. She's going to be fighting Reina Kubota on New Year's Eve. And we all know if it wasn't for Ryzen, Reina wouldn't have an MMA career to begin with, especially considering that her career started on that second Rising card with a beautiful triangle armbar over Jelena Valentino. But still, though, point is Seiki Izawa beat Saori Oshima in a 15-minute war to retain that title. I mean, yeah, Seika used her height and her discrepancy to outmaneuver Oshima, but you got to think now, considering that she's going to be fighting Reina on New Year's Eve, do you think that this result will probably make her susceptible to weakness?
Well, I'll say this. Izawa was by far the biggest favorite on the card, minus 1,500. That's a massive favorite. So she's expected to win, 90 something, whatever percent chance. So unlike the winner in the main event, she did not look like the massive favorite that she was. I mean, she clearly won the fight, but yeah, it went to decision. It wasn't completely one-sided, but yeah, she got the job done. Good for her. It wasn't the most exciting fight. However, as soon as it was over, we did get some excitement. Reina, who has been inactive for a while, she got trotted into the cage, and that itself was controversial. And they faced off, and that's the best thing they could do. I think it's great that Ryzen took that opportunity to, face them off, build some heat for the New Year's Eve title fight. And, she's definitely going to have a much harder fight with Rena. We all believe that. I don't think she's going to be a massive favorite. I heard some people in the chat room kind of imply that Rena's going to kick her ass. Like Rena might actually be the favorite. I don't know about that. I'm curious how the odds makers are gonna line this. I think it's gonna be close. I don't think Rena will actually be the favorite.
But, I mean, anything will you think? I mean, and I really don't like, talking about betting odds all that much. I mean, because, some of those odds probably might not work well once the fight actually starts. And even then, you're still going to be losing money. But you got Reina Kubota, who's 15-5. Yeah, she's been on a 2-fight winning streak. But the last fight she had was last summer when she knocked out Kate Lotus. I mean, you have to think that the ring rust or cage rust or competition rust, so to speak, will definitely play a factor in Reina, hoping to fight not to lose, right?
Yeah, you have to wonder if Izawa not finishing this fight makes people downgrade her a little in their mind. And Rena's popular, so she's going to have all her supporters. You're right that being inactive is a consideration, and then their style clash. Is Izawa's takedowns good enough to get Rena down easily? Is Rena's takedown defense going to hold up? Is Izawa's striking good enough to, not get schooled, by Rena? Is Rena going to get one of those beautiful body shots she's so good at? I could see that happening, right? I think Izawa has a long torso for her size. Rena could get one of those body shots in there. If I had to pick it right now, I might say, yeah, okay, I'll pick Rena round 2 TKO via body shot.
I see. But other than that, when it comes down to Izawa and the fact that, again, there's literally no true challengers left for her other than Reina. I mean, you have to think, if she were to have lost this fight against Oshima, what would have been her next point of view? Like, what would have been her next option should she have lost this title fight?
Well, you want to talk about what would have happened if she lost it? I don't know. I mean, I think we've got a great storyline with what actually happened. She didn't lose, so it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah. I mean, we have an outcome and we have something to look forward to.
And before we move on, what do you do next with Saori Oshima? Because, of course, if you follow Saori, Saori, by the way, you would know that she had to move up from microweight, which is 99 pounds, microweight,
right,
just to compete, just to basically even be in this predicament. Because, again, she is the microweight champion of Deep and Deep Jewels. But 99 pounds, moving all the way up to 108, yeah, that may be a crazy climb for a woman, but when it comes down to Oshima, do you think that her future should not rely on the pack weight, the Pacquiao weight classes?
She's going to end up going back to her other promotion, right? That was her first Ryzen fight. She's, and she'll go back and do that. Who knows if Ryzen will have her back? I suppose they will, but this is one of those cases where, like, Ryzen, you said it earlier, it's a federation, right? It's not like all these fighters are on their roster working exclusively for them. She fights elsewhere, so she'll probably do that again. She'll probably go fight back in Deep Jewels if that's where she fights.
Well, here's the thing. This wasn't Oshima's first Ryzen fight. She actually fought 4 previous times prior to this, and she went undefeated in the Ryzen ring and cage before that. I think her most recent fight before this one was an armbar submission victory last year over Claire Lopez.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, they just weren't consecutive. She jumps back and forth. Her other fights were in 2024, 2023, and 2022.
And obviously, most recently, she fought before this, back in May and September in Deep and Deep Jewels.
Right.
So, yeah, it would be hard for her to just basically drop back down to under 100 pounds just to continue to compete. But, hopefully her future is in higher weight classes. I wouldn't say higher weight classes like her just all of a sudden gaining 20 pounds overnight or even 30 pounds, which would be disastrous for her. But still, though.
Yeah, she's 4'11" according to Topology. That is a big difference. She'll probably just go back to her other promotion, and who knows, next year when Ryzen wants her to fight again, she'll fight.
I mean, it's either that or possibly waiting for Invicta to start back up again, because they have this sort of like on-off hiatus thing over in Kansas City. I mean, where they basically have a hot streak of wanting to get on and then wanting to get off. But now with the whole CBS thing, with that 3-letter promotion, they probably might not have anywhere else to go. So, just waiting for Invicta to call her back up won't be a good idea either.
Yeah, I don't know about what's going on with Invicta. It's been a while since their last card.
Hmm.
I watched them on YouTube. I doubt many people watch it. There were only like 6 fights or 5 fights on those cards. I mean, I watched it for what it was. I think they did them on a Wednesday night again, which I loved because there's nothing else doing on a Wednesday. So they were nice short cards. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
I mean, to be honest, Invicta only done 3 cards this year.
Right.
So you have to think maybe they're not really as consistent as they are now, especially with, women's MMA being what it is, just chaos, so to speak, internally chaos, internally chaotic. But still, though, any summary on this before we move on?
No, I think we got something to look forward to. Izawa versus Rena. I'm down for it. I want to see the odds. I know you don't like the bet, but to me that's very exciting. I wonder if how big of a favorite if she is going to be Izawa is, because I think if you ask people on the chat, everybody's going to say Rena's going to win. I think.
Yeah,
So
because everybody wants to see her celebrate
yeah.
and look at that pointer finger in the sky. Say, 1, 2, 3, shoot-o!
Yeah.
And then everybody gets they just do.
Yeah.
But still, though, moving on now, Kazumasa Maijima, the Rebel Demon, the former Rebel FC featherweight champion, he dusted off some Rebel magic over Shuya Kimura and just basically used his. I mean, he used his body as a choking mechanism, so to speak. Just choked the man out. 2 minutes. No, wait, actually, I'm looking at the time here. 2 minutes, 54 seconds. Round number 2. Majima gets the victory over Shuya Kimura. He gets submission win number 15 out of his 18 overall wins. And you have to think, even though he's 4-5 and rising, even though he's 34 years old and have been fighting for the better part of about 12 years, I mean, you have to think, should we stop underestimating Maijima's abilities?
I'd say so. I'm going to invoke the odds again. This was the biggest upset on the card. Majima was plus 225 or higher. So he wasn't supposed to win, and he won impressively. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, don't underestimate him. He's a veteran, 34 years old. Let's see what kind of streak he has. He's all right. He lost. He lost to Karamov the fight before that. That's no shame there. Beat Seguro Knee the fight before that. Lost to Imanari by armbar, which is a little weird, but he's got.
Let's just face it, man. It's never weird when you lose into Masakazu Imanari via submission.
Yeah, yeah. He's a veteran. Yeah, I mean, I think he was expected to win that fight, but yeah, again, maybe no shame there either. So,
But
yeah, he looked great.
But what you're trying to make is, and yeah, disqualifying his first 3 fights in Rising in his most recent times, dude's 4-2 in his last 6. So you're basically saying that the odds were determining him as an underdog who was programmed to lose.
Yeah, he was the biggest upset on the card. So good for him. He stays relevant. 145 is one of their deepest divisions. So let's get him booked, next year.
I mean, yeah, hopefully so. Maybe he'll get a potential title shot opportunity. No, maybe he'll get a potential title possibility going. Now, as far as Kimura goes, I mean, dude is basically, I wouldn't say he's washed. He's far from washed. He's 25 years young. Hard to believe he was born in the summer of 2000, but still, though, point is, this is his second consecutive Rising loss. Yeah, he lost to Karamov in his second fight in the promotion, and before that, he knocked out Takeji Yokoyama. But with the fact that he's 1-2 in Rising, do you think that's you know, do you think that he probably might have some issues on how not to? I mean, because the last two times he went past the first round, as all of his previous wins were via first round knockout of some form or fashion. But do you think that Homeboy has inconsistency issues about going past the first round?
Yeah, I mean it's possible. I don't know if it was a cardio issue or the fact that he was fighting tougher opponents. Yeah, five TKOs in a row. Then he fights Karamov, and then he fights Majima.
Mm-hmm.
Can he has to go home and decide? Okay, what was wrong? Why did I lose? Did I fight so furious in round one that I gassed? Did I lose my confidence? Is he what you call a front runner? Who if he doesn't win in round one, his spirit gets crushed and he'll lose even to a worse fighter who can just outlast his onslaught? Or was he just up against somebody who was who was on that night? A veteran who has seen it all, was not afraid of a younger up and coming fighter, and he taught him a lesson. So doesn't mean he's washed. You said he was 25 years old, so he should get another opportunity.
And I mean, in a way, just because he's 25 doesn't mean that he's getting gold. I mean, I still see folks born after New Year's Day 2000 as those who, I mean, especially those who were born in 2000 and 2005. I don't really see them as old. I see them as people who need to learn their lessons, but I don't see them as, oh, this guy washed. Let's put him in the fucking clearance rack or something. I mean, I think that this kid, and I use that term lightly, probably just needs some wins outside the promotion just to, rejuvenate himself. Wouldn't you think?
Were all his fights in Ryzen, or was he jumping around?
He was, I mean, in his first four fights, three of his first four fights were for Gladiator.
Okay.
Other fight was, I think, in Grachan. But still, though, he's only been fighting in Ryzen since March of this year, and he's managed to have a 1-2 record to show for it. So yeah, I think that for him, he would need to have some decent fights in another organization, preferably going back to Gladiator or going full time to Grachan would definitely mean a lot more for him than just, being pushed further and further down the card in Ryzen.
Yeah, that's one thing Ryzen can do, because they do have the option to some of these fighters just go back to where they came from, either because they want to get their confidence back, or B, just because Ryzen doesn't have that many cards. So, if it's going to be 6 months or 8 months till Ryzen wants him again, of course he's going to go back and fight elsewhere. And as long as he fights well, hopefully wins a fight, he'll probably be invited back.
I see. So what's your overall summary on this fight before we move on?
That's it. We got an exciting result. Let's keep the winner in mind, for early next year, and let the loser do what you said. Go back and get his confidence back.
Okay, interesting. Now we move on to Kate Lotus Oyama blooming like a flower over Bo Mi Lee of South Korea. I mean, let's face it, I had my worries that she would get crushed in the second round because all of Bo Mi Lee's wins were via second round finish. But Miss Oyama, Miss Lotus, she held her own. And she definitely did her damnedest to keep the fight, going forward over those 15 minutes. And she definitely earned herself an opportunity to continue going in her rising career. But as far as Bo Mi Lee goes, I don't think this will be the last time we see her in Rising, because if they ever need another body for another international card, say in South Korea again, like how they did earlier this year, But unfortunately, she wasn't a part of that card. If they ever need another body, she would definitely be on standby. But when it comes down to Kate Lotus Oyama and, possible next opponents, I think a certain Nightcrawler has something that she would like to get off her chest. Introducing Nick Dolly Rivera Kalanok and what she had to say about Kate Lotus Oyama.
Well, I would love to fight Kate Oyama on Risen New Year's Eve card. If I've seen that she's on a winning streak, and I respect her, and I think our styles could make a really exciting fight for the Risen fans in Japan on New Year's Eve. And if SB Rena's opponent ends up getting hurt, Risen, call me. I will fight her. I'm not scared.
Now, never mind the fact that she fucked up the pronunciation of the promotion. It's rising like a phoenix from the ashes, not risen like something from up the grave. But still, though, when you got fighters like a Nick Dolly Rivera Kalanok who want desperately to fight somebody like a Kate Lotus Oyama, do you actually go ahead and make that fight?
Yeah, where does that fighter compete in normally? The one you just played the interview.
Oh, Nick Dolly? Last
Yeah.
I checked, she fought in Combate Americas, or what's now known as Combate Global.
Oh,
Combate.
okay.
I mean, she's known as the Night Queen. She's 10-13 and won no contest. Originally from Chihuahua, Mexico, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida, USA, by way of Tucson, Arizona, USA. But still, though, point of the matter, when it comes down to the Night Queen, I called her the Night Crawler, not the Night Queen, but when it comes down to Nick Dolly, I think that if she were to fight Kate Lotus, I mean, let's just face it, it wouldn't be to put over her OnlyFans page. It would basically to be to put over her fledgling fight career, because I don't think she would make that much of a difference. She would basically be put on there just to fill a roster. Well, not to fill a roster spot, but to fill a card opportunity and give Oyama an easy win. And I'm looking on Tapology right now. Nick Dolly's currently riding a 3-fight losing streak. Her last 2 fights come via finish losses, of course. I mean, that would be an easy fight for Kate Lotus, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, probably. I think, and also Combate Global, they haven't had a card in months. So I don't know if they're off for this quote unquote season or if they're done as a continuing entity.
I mean, you can go ahead and continue on with what you're saying. I just need to get something real quick.
Sure. Well, yeah, with the atom weight class, there are some women around the world, like he said, Combate Global. There used to occasionally be an atom weight fight in Bellator. There were some atom weights in Invicta, and they may very well be available because Invicta hasn't had a card in months. Combate Global hasn't had a card in months. I'm sure there are some atom weight women elsewhere, on the regional scene, Australia, Canada, Brazil, certainly. If they want to bring someone in, they definitely have the opportunity to do that. So there's definitely opportunities there.
And Andrew is saying, especially with a record like hers.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
that's up to them. I mean, she's asking for it. Who knows if she'll get it?
Well, actually, he was saying no one wants an OnlyFans fighter on a Rising show, especially with a record like hers.
Well, I
I
guess
mean,
she figures it can't hurt to ask.
oh yeah, I mean, come to think of it, she trains alongside Anthony. She trains alongside Anthony Burchak, who fought in Rising before. She wants to get the opportunity to put over fighters like Jose Shorty Torres, who also wants to fight on the Rising New Year's Eve card, because I guess his commitments with Brave Combat Federation are officially done and dusted for the year. But, you know, when it comes down to fighters like Kalinok, I mean, Nick Dawley, you would have to think that, I mean, Andrew may think differently. Nobody wants a cam girl fighter, but still, though.
I want cam girl fighters. Anybody remember when Bellator had that porn star fight?
I remember. I think it was, I think her name was Orion. I
Yeah.
don't know what her last name was, but still, though, it's like she had one moment she was training for a fight, the next she had some weird fucked up fetish video where she was basically puking. Ugh,
Yeah.
so fucking disgusting. But still, though, JBF, no, why? I mean, it's Andrew's worst nightmares. Let's be real. But long story short, as I try and get back into focus, pardon the pun, I mean, what's your overall summary on this fight that took place?
It wasn't the most exciting fight. Oyama was a marginal, pretty significant minus 200 plus favorite. She won. Bo Mi Lee will go back to Road FC where she came from, no doubt. Oyama is popular, and she will get another fight. Who knows who it will be against? Bring in a Gai Jing or another, another Japanese fighter. Who knows? I mean, we can only speculate. So it is what it is. It was a decent win, but yeah, I don't think it was the most exciting fight.
But long story short, you do not think that it's going to be Nigdali Rivera Kalinok, despite the fact that she is asking for a fight on New Year's
I'm
Eve.
sure I've seen her fight. I just can't picture her, since you mentioned her name. Afterwards, I'm going to look her up. I don't know. I mean, who knows if her plea was heard or if they're going to want to fly her in and all the expense that goes to. I mean, this is very speculative because, there's only one more card this year. Oyama's surely not going to be on it unless she really, really wants to, and they fit her in there. So we're talking about well into 2026. Who knows what's going to happen?
So, in other words, much like how Toby Misek was brought in this year only to take an ass whooping, you think it's going to be the same thing for Nigdali Rivera Kalinok?
I have no idea if she's going to if anybody heard her plea or they're going to take it seriously. I mean, who knows? I mean, did you happen to interview her? Is that why you have that sound clip?
No, somebody put it out on the Rise and FL.
Okay. I was wondering why you were so focused on this. It sounds like you subscribe to her OnlyFans or something. If you're talking about her so much.
I had the disposable funds to put over everybody who has an OnlyFans.
No judgment. I mean, listen, yeah, who knows?
Oh my God. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and talk about the fact that Taisei Sakuraba doesn't want to be in his father's good graces anymore, or at least in some way, shape, or form. He's physically saying, I mean, at least with his actions that took place last Monday morning, he's basically saying, hey, I don't want to come out to my dad's music anymore. I don't want to wear my dad's gear. I am not like my father. I want to be my own man. And what he did was take that anger and frustration out on the savage Sir Patrick Usami and made him tap out to a knee bar in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to think now, I mean, Taisei pretty much shattered all of our expectations when it comes down to how this fight would turn out. But what's next for Taisei now that, you know, Saku Jr. wants to prove that he can be better than his father, especially considering that his first win was via knockout and his second win was his second win was coming off of a loss to a heritage fighter in Daisuke Nakamura, only to, you know, come with this. Like, do you think that this can lead to a sign of a difference between father and son?
Well, I don't know the significance of that. I mean, the fact that he wanted to. Did you turn your fan on?
JBF,
Yeah.
I can barely hear you.
Me?
I mean, come to think of it, I might have to. Uh,
I think you turned your fan on or something. I heard a noise or your computer fan's running or something. Well, hopefully he will be back. Oh, here we go.
yeah,
You're back?
yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay. That was better.
Drop off a bit, but go ahead and continue with what you were saying.
Okay. I was just saying that I don't know. You made it sound like that you felt that was significant. The fact that he didn't want to use his dad's entrance music or wear the same costume or outfit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he felt there's nothing wrong with one. He's gone. Are you gone again, Jay Krish? Oh, there you are.
Playing around with things, but still, though,
continue. Yeah, you should. Whatever you're doing, you should stop.
I mean, come to think of it, that was maybe the voice that was probably the inner voice in Taisei's head saying, "Hey, whatever you're doing, you should stop. You shouldn't be cosplaying as your father. You shouldn't be trying to make yourself out to be like your father, because you're not. Your first win was via knockout, something that Kazushi never had in his career, unless it was via technicality. Basically, I mean, the dude's only 3 fights into his MMA career. I know there's been some, father-son tandems in most sports, and those never turn out the way they should. But still, though, Taisei Sakuraba is probably going to be different than his father. The question is, how can he be different?
I don't think he needs to focus on that. He was coming off a loss. He was probably embarrassed. He got submitted. So who knows, fighters like to change things. But listen, I'll tell you this. This was the other upset of the card. The only other underdog who won. Sho Patrick Usami was the favorite. And he was on the Ryzen Fantasy League. Sho Patrick Usami was on my team. And I was hoping for a win, especially after seeing Sakuraba Jr. lose to Nakamura by armbar. However, he looked great. He was throwing those kicks out, clearly not afraid in case he fell or got knocked to his back. He was out there, he did his thing. I mean, and yeah, he did get the knee bar. He's a great submission artist. I mean, this was a decent opponent. What his Osami's record was looks like it was 7-4 before 8-3. Then it became 8-4 now.
It was 8-4, but it's actually 8-5 if you count.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, it was a decent opponent, and he got an upset, and good for him. I mean, I don't care what music he walks out to. I mean, everybody knows he's Sakuraba Jr. It's up to him if he wants to put on a new logo or come up with his own music. The point is, he's coming off a win. He got a finish. He got an upset. So give him an appropriate opponent, for, again, we're looking at next year. We're not looking at the New Year's Eve card, probably. So, they definitely want to build him. I mean, being the son of such a notable legend, no doubt this is the kind of young fighter Ryzen wants to build over the long term. He did stumble against a crafty veteran in Nakamura, but yeah, let's see him next year.
And when it comes to the Savage, so Patrick Usami, he obviously got his knee wrenched. And by the way, the result of that fight was knee bar, 1 minute 33 seconds of round number three. Saku Jr. beats Usami via submission. But he was coming off a unanimous decision win over Siwon Kim. And then obviously you got his brother Mason Hide Usami, who's a kickboxing champion in Rise. So, you know, when it comes down to show Patrick Usami, who Michael Schiavello mentions as half Japanese, half Canadian, all awesome. I mean, what do you do with him next?
He's got to heal. Hopefully his knee isn't too messed up, so he's going to have to rest, recover, and then, he'll have to build his confidence. That was what weight class?
That was at lightweight, 155 pounds.
Yeah, they definitely need both of these guys. That's not the deepest weight. It's not as deep as 145, I don't think, or 125. But
well, considering the fact that Risen's weight class for lightweight is actually 157,
yeah,
you got a lot of guys who have their leeway with trying to make 155, didn't realize they could add that extra 2 pounds for muscle. But still, though, I get what you mean. Lightweight is one of the many promotions that no, not promotions, divisions. Lightweight is one of the many divisions that needs more bodies in it. I mean, I wouldn't say that Taisei is going to be a world beater and blah, blah, blah. I just think that he needs more opportunities to shine, and maybe Usami does too. I mean, wouldn't you agree with me on that?
Yeah, they should bring him back next year. He's had some good fights. It's too early to speculate when. Who knows how bad his knee was injured. I think I remember him grimacing in pain. So, he might definitely need some time off, rest, recovery. Hopefully he won't need surgery. Yeah, bring him back next year. There's no way to specify more than that.
I see. Now we can go ahead and move on and talk about why Mr. Twister has hands that many people did not know truly existed. But Joji Goto, I would basically say if he was an underdog, he damn sure didn't fight like it last weekend or last Monday, because he knocked the soul out of Taichi Nakajima. He knocked him out in 1:50 and just basically made him feel like, this dude wasn't much of a challenge. And yeah, I say that because people say he's known for a submission game, but dude is now 19-8-1. He's managed to get he's managed to get knockout number 10 out of his career in Rising. And he's 4-0, undefeated in the promotion after submitting Nino Loco Trent Girdham and Junior Hibino. He managed to get a decision win over Jinosuke Kashimura, who we'll also talk about winning on this card, up until that knockout win over Taichi Nakajima. And to be honest, when it comes down to Goto, do you think that people should remind him that he's a submission fighter rather than a knockout artist?
Hey, it's good to be well-rounded. I mean, that's an exciting fight to come off of.
Mm-hmm.
Another fighter, again, this applies to almost everyone. They're not going to be on the New Year's Eve card. So we're talking, go home, rest, enjoy your win, enjoy the holidays. And, you're coming off a big win, exciting knockout. You'll be back. He's at 135 pounds. That's also a pretty good weight class in Rising. So yeah, be happy. Keep training. You don't want to be, one note. as we've seen, a lot of these fighters who are known as submission artists can get knockouts, at least, against certain opponents, and vice versa. So, yeah, we'll look forward to seeing him back.
I see. And I mean, to be honest, we should both look forward to seeing them back. If you're saying that they shouldn't be fighting again, neither fighter should be fighting again until the turn of the calendar. I mean, you would have to think who's going to get the bigger opportunity first. No, wait, actually, no. I already answered that question, to be honest. That's stupid of me to ask. I'm just saying, who's going to be the main one fighting first for 2026?
Well, we have some fights coming up on New Year's Eve, so we know what's going on in this weight class, right? There's a bantamweight title fight going on. So, they could definitely consider somebody coming off a highlight reel win as potentially another title challenger. If not, their schedule is not made up. I mean, the only thing I'm pretty sure, just from logic and experience, I don't think Rise's matchmakers are really thinking about the card after New Year's Eve now. It's not like the UFC where it's on an assembly line where they have the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards ahead because they're coming one after the other week after week. I think that all focus is on New Year's Eve right now.
Not to mention, when it comes down to that 3-letter promotion, they got a multi-billion-dollar TV deal. Something Ryzen hasn't had to rely on in the last decade that they've been around.
Mm-hmm.
But still, though, when it comes down to those two fighters, breaks would definitely need to be warranted, especially for Usami coming off of getting knocked the fuck out like that. No, and actually not Usami. He's the one that got submitted. I'm talking Nakajima, who got knocked the fuck out. But still, though, breaks are warranted, especially in the case of Goto. You don't want to just come off the high of a knockout victory and then boom, it just comes crashing down the second you get put back into a fight too soon. And then, much like what happened the last time out when he faced off against Mando Gutierrez in Deep, he would basically come crashing down and definitely hurting inside. Rest in peace, Terry Bollea, rot in peace, Hulk Hogan. But still, though, point of the matter is, when it comes down to those two fighters, they would definitely need a break. And speaking of a break, I think we need to break away from talking about Max Yoshida, because that dude was a bona fide douche and a certified dud. And you can teach that.
Yeah, we're moving on to the next fight at heavyweight, Taka Kenshin. He was a minus 300 favorite, and he looked like a minus 3,000 favorite.
Of course. I mean, if anything, if you want to talk about UFC references, Max Yoshida is like the human equivalent of Dennis Hallman wearing those fucking Speedo trunks, those training mask Speedo trunks. And, that knockout was like Dana White saying, "Get those nasty fucking things off my screen." But still, though, Max Yoshida was hyped up as a wrestler, as a kickboxer, as a breaking down fighter. I mean, dude was all bark and no bite coming into this fight, and even my good friend out of Eastern Canada, Taylor Lang, was basically saying that even if he were to fight him, Taylor would have a better opportunity in knocking him out quicker than what Taka Kenshin did. But still, though, point is, Taka Kenshin knocked the hell out of Max Yoshida in about enough time that it took to go grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, so to speak. I think it was, about 100 seconds? But no, not 100 seconds. No, 91 seconds. But still, though, point of the matter, Taka Kenshin earns being the key word here, his third win out of the 7 fights he's been in mixed martial arts so far. And now he wants to line up his pockets and facing off against, the hero of foul play and not giving a fuck, Sina Karimian, who just got suspended by Glory Kickboxing for being a dopehead, an illegal PED taker, for just being an overall shitty return on investment fighter. I don't know. You want to go ahead and take the lead on what Taka Kenshin should do next? Because I got a whole shit ton of things to talk about when it comes down to why he shouldn't fight Sina Karimian.
I don't know what your reasoning is why he shouldn't fight Sina Karimian. I wouldn't mind it, but listen, he's coming off 2 wins in a row. He's getting. I think he did lose to King Edo Polo. Dog Polo. His name is very strange, and I've seen it multiple ways.
He's Korean and Nigerian living in.
Yeah, I mean, Taka Kenshin, listen, I had him on my fantasy team. I was rooting for him. I wish I would have put some money on him because he looked great, but against, competition that we don't think too much of in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, why don't you want to see him fight Sina Karimian? Why do you care?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I don't know if you watched the K1 card that took place, the most recent K1 World Grand Prix card that took place, but there was a bout that happened on that card that featured Sina Karimian taking on Bulletproof Blake Troop, who I interviewed before the damn fight, and he was very psyched up and amped up and wanting to fight him. The problem was, that fight was just chaotic. Let's just say that. Sina Karimian was up to his old tricks again, and he was being a dirty fucking fighter. I mean, to the point where Blake Troop answered with an elbow, not realizing it was illegal under K1 rules. So the bout, while K1 is still, running their fingers through the mud when it comes down to what to give the result, the bout's a no contest. And now, I mean, you got Sina Karimian doing stupid shit like getting himself suspended for PEDs. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, as of last night, as of the recording of this audio and video, Blake Troop was out there wrestling for Booker T's promotion down in my neck of the woods, which is about 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. He was out wrestling a former NFL defensive lineman, on Saturday night. But still, though, point of the matter is, I think that Taka Kenshin should not be the one facing Sina Karimian. I think that Blake Troop should be the one facing Sina Karimian, or maybe even Tsuyoshi Sudario, Taka Kenshin's big brother, because Tsuyoshi was supposed to be fighting, as you probably might have heard on the previous podcast I did, Tsuyoshi was supposed to fight Davion Franklin in South Korea about a week or so ago, and that didn't happen because Davion likes to be likes to be taking a few too many cheat days. Still, though, I'm not trying to bash Taka Kenshin more than he's already been bashed. I'm just saying, out of all the fighters who should definitely be taking a break after this event and not fight on New Year's Eve, he's one of them. Taka Kenshin is one of them.
Yeah, he's not going to get booked most likely anyway. I don't know how many of these, how many slots they have left on that New Year's Eve card. There's already 6 title fights that they, or 5 or 6 title fights they announced.
Fights.
Yeah. So chances are most of these fighters are going to have to wait till next year. So yeah, same deal. He's coming off a win. I don't really care who he fights. I will, whatever happens. So I'll look forward to seeing him fight again next year.
Yeah, but the point of the matter is that if Ryzen ends up booking Cena Karimian for the New Year's Eve fight card, I would hope they look back at that K1 shit show that happened and think that Blake Troop would be a better opponent. Or if they want to match a loser with somebody, think about putting Max Yoshida back in there on an early prelim and have Taylor Clubber Lang, that's his nickname, beat the shit out of him just for my entertainment.
Okay.
Still, though, point is like we can agree on. Taka Kenshin needs to take a break. Hopefully he doesn't eat too much and actually focus on a decent fighting career. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, he deserves a break.
Yeah, of course. But Max Yoshida, yeah, who gives a shit? Now, let's go ahead and move on. Kentaro has broke even. It's like in the... Oh, wait a minute. Takumi is saying Sakakibara answered this New Year's Eve event finished at 10, as in 10 p.m. JST
Local time, yeah.
due to faculty reasons. I mean, that's what he wants for the New Year's Eve event to take place.
So that means it'll be a little earlier for us.
Yeah, most definitely, especially considering the fact that, I mean, you remember last year when the New Year's Eve event lasted a full 12 plus hours, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went to bed and I watched it later. Most of it, though, at least half of it.
Oh, yeah. And Takumi is also saying so numbers of total fight cards will be even fewer than Landmark 12. Yeah, I'm pretty sure J Wolf's not going to be happy, but to be honest, do we really care?
Yeah, 8. I was hoping they'd get to like 10 cards. They're only doing 8 this year. It's a little disappointing, but
Yeah, basically doing a 10 fight card. Well, first of all, you got 6 title fights on New Year's Eve. And then it's going to be real hard trying to figure out the 4 other fights or more if they want to do that. But still, though, I think I agree. Them ending at 10 p.m. JST, which would be around, 8 a.m. for you, 7 a.m. for me, that would be kind of interesting. Especially if the primetime portion of the event, well, actually, no, if the prelims start early enough for us on December 30th that they start in prime time for us. But yeah, point is, let's go ahead and move on and go back to the card. Kentaro broke even, defeating Young Feng Lee via submission due to a heel hook at 1 minute 34 seconds of round number 1. And this result really did surprise me because, again, Young Feng, the 5th rising fighter to hail from China, 4th mixed martial artist to hail from China. I mean, you got to think that this one, wasn't Kentaro one of the main ones that ended up having an upset that night?
yeah, he was a favorite here.
Oh.
I had him on. Yeah, we already discussed the 2 upsets. There were only 2. But yeah, he was a moderate favorite here, minus 175. And the way he won was the biggest surprise, in my opinion, as a former kickboxer. He does have another submission on his record earlier in his career, but heel hook, that I did not expect. So good for him.
I mean, you would have to think him working an American Top Team, he has been trying his damnedest to, work on being an all-around fighter. I mean, yeah, I know that they would have a penchant on not getting guys or not getting girls who have middle-of-the-road records who just want to be there just to be there or just want to be there because Kyoji Horiguchi gave them a free pass. But still, though, you have to think there's a little bit of magic still left in Kentaro's hat, so to speak, right?
He's a fun fighter. I always say when you get these former kickboxers in Ryzen that have been training MMA for a short while, or in his case, a little longer while.
Mm-hmm.
Put him up against strikers or put him up against action fighters, if they're well-rounded enough to handle somebody who's significantly better at the grappling, and let's see what happens. So yeah, he's popular, right? I don't follow the social media and all that, but I think Kintaro probably is popular in Japan. So yeah, same deal. Let's look forward to seeing him next year.
Yeah, of course. And before we move on, I mean, I know that I would probably ask, what would you do with the Chinese opponent, Yung Feng Li? But I guess the easy way would be to say, go back to the promotion he competed at, which is Wulin Fang, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is with these guys. He came in, he'll go back and get his confidence back with a win, and who knows, maybe he'll be back.
I mean, if not, if he doesn't be back, if he doesn't return, who knows? Maybe the certain three-letter promotion that we've been talking about would definitely want him.
Not coming off a loss.
I mean, yeah, but if he builds his character back up, maybe he could be thinking about signing with them rather than going back to Ryzen. I mean, that would be easy for them, right?
I don't know about easy. I think sometimes these Asian fighters, depending on what country they're from, depending on who they're training with, they may not get those, what is that, hashtag UFC dreams, because it just seems probably so far away, literally and figuratively.
Mm-hmm.
They have other opportunities closer to home. So I think it's only the exceptional fighters are probably looking that far ahead, or the ones that go train in North America. Although they do have this whole route now with the road to UFC, some of these fighters are getting scooped up there from different Asian countries. So yeah, who knows? It's really the only way you know is if you talk to him, figure out who he's training with, who he knows, who his manager is, all that kind of stuff. How feasible does it seem for him? That's really what that's about.
True. Very true. And now, speaking of somebody in Kintaro who's basically in the middle of the road to somebody who wants to be at the front of the line, and that is Nurkan Zumagazi, who supposedly happens to be the brother of Karshiga Doubtbeck. He got in first round submission over Tatsuya Yambo Saika and got out, and now he wants to get an opportunity to continue competing in Ryzen to vie for the lightweight title. Now, when you seen this guy for the first time, obviously he was an overall favorite, an overwhelming favorite at that. But when it came down to Nurkan, did you see the potential coming off of that D'Arce choke that he had?
He was the second biggest favorite on the card, minus 650.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely expected to win, and I'm looking at his record here. That was indeed his first fight in Ryzen.
Yep.
And he's got a good record, right? 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
His one loss was
mm-hmm.
2024.
Yeah, the one loss was via submission in UAE Warriors to Vladislav Rutnev. Mm-hmm. But still, though, other than that, this was only his third submission victory out of the 10 victories that he has. I mean, you have to think that this dude is more than just a dynamic fighter. He's coming in with a purpose, and that's to basically be the one to knock off Roberto Satoshi Souza, right?
Yeah, we're talking lightweight. So, yeah, I mean, that's great that they, Ryzen needs always one or two people bubbling up behind, the current contenders to be, trying to get to that spot. That their roster isn't as deep as, some other promotions, but somebody like this definitely has their eye on, a contender fight or a title fight.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm pretty sure that if he gets one more big time win, especially in 2026, he's definitely gonna be seen as a possible title contender. Now, as far as Saika goes, this was his third. This was his third loss in Rising. He's the current lightweight king of Pancrase champion. I mean, he didn't really do his promotion any proud in this appearance, even though, of course, he's gotten off of back-to-back ground and pound finish victories inside the Pancrase cage, but that's sandwiched in between losses to one Bing Key via knockout in the Road to UFC tournament and this fight here. What do you think is next for Saika?
Well, just like some of the other losers we discussed earlier, he's going back to Pancrase. That's pretty obvious.
I mean, yeah, of course it's obvious because he's the king of Pancrase champion over there.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when it comes down to Pancrase, yeah, they might not have been, they're not really as big as they were some 7 years ago when they had the UFC deal. I mean, they changed a lot since their founding back in 1993 when it was, Masakazu Funaki, Minoru Suzuki, the Shamrock adopted brothers, and Frank and Wayne, or Frank and Ken, so to speak. But still, though, point of the matter is the fact that, Pancrase needs a standard bearer. After getting knocked the hell out, maybe Saika needs to go back to being that standard bearer. Otherwise, if he doesn't act like that, maybe Pancrase needs to look for new kings and queens. I mean, do you agree with that, JBF?
Yeah, Horizon's kind of in a unique place that they have this situation where they have a small core of fighters that are exclusive to them, and much of the rest of their roster are borrowed from other promotions, and these other promotions allow it in Japan. That's not something that's generally done elsewhere in North America. So, yeah, I do agree with you. He should go back, and we'll see what happens when he goes back there. I don't follow all the other Japanese MMA promotions, so like some of you guys, so I'm not as knowledgeable about what goes on there outside of Ryzen. But yeah, it's always, at least we know there's a place that these fighters are coming from.
Oh yeah, of course, most definitely. And now let's go ahead and move on and talk about the fight that was pretty much a dead even fight. And that was Shinosuke Kashimura defeating Kiyuma Yasui via unanimous decision. I mean, Kashimura improves his record up to 10-5. Yasui sees his first loss opposite 4 wins. I mean, would you say, first of all, that this was a dead even fight?
Well, I could tell you Kashimura was a modest minus 145 favorite. So that's not that wide of a disparity. Yeah, I mean, he got the decision. I don't know. I won't say he looked great doing it, but we will have to see what they make out of this. Again, he's at 135. It's one of their premier divisions. Hey, coming off a win is better than coming off a loss, even if it wasn't the most exciting fight on the card.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes down to Kashimura, he said in his post-fight interview, "I'm just relieved that I won. This was my first decision win in my career. Yasui was a stronger opponent than I imagined. Honestly, I thought I'd be able to handle him a little bit more easily, but it's not like I took him lightly. I analyzed him properly and thought he's about at this level, but he was way above that and he was really hard to deal with, quote unquote, from Jinosuke Kashimura. Now, when it comes down to that, dude's only 10-5. Do you think that we're going to see more tougher opponents for Jinosuke down the line in Rising?
Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in grinding out a win against a game opponent.
Mm-hmm.
They'll match him up with somebody next year.
Oh, yeah, of course. And would you say the same for would you say the same for Hyuma Yasui?
Well, he was on a great multiple fight win streak, right?
Yeah. He won his first 4 fights, 2 via unanimous decision, the other 2 via armbar in the first.
And 2 amateur fights before that. So that surely gave him a lot of confidence coming into this. So, and how old is he? He's a young man
He is 24 years young, going to turn 25 by the turn of the calendar.
There we go. So no great shame there. Go back to training. No reason to speculate on who he's going to fight next, but I'm sure he'll be back.
I mean, come to think of it, he's training alongside Kiyoma Akimoto at Japan Top Team. Maybe they'll give him some pointers on how to improve his career rather than see it decline.
Yeah, he's got time. Both of them.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of somebody with a lot of time on their hands, Wanbin Ki defeated Captain Africa Shutaro Dabana via unanimous decision. I mean, Wanbin Ki's fresh off of a loss in Rising to Roberto Satoshi de Souza. That was back in the spring months. And now you have to wonder, he's coming off of that first round submission loss to de Souza, of which there's no shame in that. But he's coming off of a winnable fight over Captain Africa. What do you do next with the danger, so to speak?
Yeah, again, this is lightweight, so they need fighters. Unfortunately, coming off a decision win, he got finished in his title opportunity before that, so he's not a
fight. It was a
non-title. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I remember that now.
But there's no shame in losing to the champion, though.
No. So, but he's not at the front of the line. They should match him up appropriately, maybe somebody else coming off a win who also is not in immediate line for a title shot.
Oh yeah, of course. And what do you do with Shutaro Dabana? Because this was his first ever Rising fight, but dude's 40. Do you think that this old man needs to go back to his old barn, so to speak? I mean, because he's damn sure not going back to Gamine or wherever he done work for in Africa. I mean, the dude basically adapted the nickname Captain Africa because of his humanitarian work. But in the ring or in the cage, I mean, he's more known for fighting in Shudo. He's actually their lightweight champion. But still, though, what do you do next with Captain Africa?
Well, as we've said multiple times tonight, he's going to go back to where he came from. If he's a champion in Shudo, he'll go back there.
Oh, yeah, of course he will. Because nobody knew who he was before then. And now it's best to say that nobody will probably know him unless they actually care about watching Shudo. And the final fight on our calendar, the final fight, that we should be talking about was the first MMA fight of the main card. And that's the Wild Man, Antonio Tony Laramie. No, wait, actually, Anthony Tony Laramie.
Mm-hmm.
He defeated Wataru Yamauchi via unanimous decision, but it came at a cost because Yamauchi came in about a half pound overweight. So, Homeboy was already riding the short end of the stick when the fight happened, and Laramie pretty much got a winnable win, so to speak. I mean, yeah, when you think about it, Laramie should have been fighting in the Grand Prix all along, but I guess between him losing to Yuki Ito, it was probably best that he did not fight in that Grand Prix. And he basically said after the fight, he being from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, by the way, I wanted to show that I'm a contender in all aspects of MMA. If I fought Yuki Ito how I did at this show, it would have been light work. Shinryu is also who I'm looking at, that being Makoto Shinryu Takahashi. It's only right that we tussle in Rising. He likes to grapple after watching me now. He's going to come up with a different game plan for me. So, when it comes down to Laramie, obviously he wants to have a rematch with Yuki Ito, but he also has Makoto Shinryu on his mind. Which fight do you think should happen first?
Well, he got it done with wrestling. I kind of like Shinryu's coming off a win, right? If I recall correctly, or a loss.
Oh, he came off of the loss against Yuki Ito at Super Rising.
Yeah, sometimes it makes sense to put a fighter coming off a win with a fighter coming off a loss. Yeah, I don't know. Laramie's in a good position. I mean, I don't know how sometimes they just pluck these Western fighters. Like for some reason, they just like anoint some Western fighter to come over, like Spike Carlisle or Tony Laramie. I don't know why him in particular, why he gets that opportunity. But listen, he got the job done. He took the fight, even though his opponent missed weight. Hopefully he got a piece of his purse too. I don't know if they do that in Japan.
They do.
But okay, well, good for him. So, the flyweight Grand Prix is going to be wrapping itself up on New Year's Eve, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a fresh tableau for next year.
And you're saying that Laramie should get either one of those fights, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't disagree with you on that one. And as far as Yamauchi goes, I mean, he wants desperately to fight in the UFC, just like every other fighter who wants to have dreams of going into the UFC. They use this promotion as a stopgap. But still, though, after losing this fight, do you think that Wataru needs to go back to the damn drawing board, much less think about a UFC opportunity?
Yeah, I see he was on road to UFC in May of 2025, right? He lost by TKO.
Yeah, so maybe it would be best for him to just go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, you got to get a win to get back to they'll do road to UFC again next year. Get a win or two, be exciting. Maybe you'll get another opportunity.
I mean, yeah, because the same thing happened to Top Noi Lucky Left. I mean, he ended up fighting in Rising for a little bit, realized his style just wasn't up to par, and then he ended up fighting in the UFC, the road to UFC tournament, that is. And then he started trying to be a little bit more exciting again before his most recent Rising opportunity, which I think was last summer. But still, though, point is, you're right. The dude needs to, be a little more exciting. And in his case, try not to miss weight, because the last thing anybody needs, and I mentioned this earlier on when it came down to the Davion Franklin situation, when he had that fight against Yoshi Sudario go awry. You need to not focus on too many cheat days. Or if you know that your body just can't take the pressure, try and find other ways to make weight.
Yeah, in Japan, it's a much bigger deal than it is elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You literally can't win the fight, so it's quite a big deal.
Yeah, and of course, Top Noi Lucky Left fought Yuki Ito back in October of 2023. But still, though, point is, when it comes down to Wataru, he just needs to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And now that we pretty much, well, actually, one more thing I can ask, before we talk a little bit about the New Year's Eve card, what were your overall performances of the night, and what was your fight of the night?
Performance of the night. I mean, it's the main event, that spectacular knockout, Akimoto. That's definitely one. And then you've got to give Kintaro, heel hook. I'd say those are the performances of the night. The fight of the night, that's a little tougher.
Is it because of the fact that there was just a varying quantity of decisions as opposed to finishes?
Yeah, I mean, usually a fight of the night in my mind is something where it's like back and forth, and like it may or may not end in finish, but you could see both fighters have had their moments, or the momentum kind of switches back and forth. Those to me are always like what I would call a fight of the night. I think really this card, there were some great finishes that deserve performance. If they, like in the UFC, they do performance bonuses, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they do a fight of the night bonus. Here, I think if this was a UFC card, this would be all performance of the night bonuses, no fight of the night bonus,
Wow.
to use an analogy.
Only thing is, at least when it came down to this fight card, it was better than fighting in a fucking warehouse.
Yeah, it had good energy. The crowd was good. It was it was like, respectable crowd, and people were into it. So, yeah, for a non-tent pole, non-New Year's Eve card, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah. And of course, when it came down to my fight of the night, and I'm only going to say one of each, my fight of the night definitely went to Kiyoma Akimoto over Kyohei Hagiwara, especially in the case of Kiyoma. Dude's a young prospect on the rise. I mean, what more can you say about him? The dude has future appeal, so to speak. But as far as my performance of the night, I would have to say that went to Nurkan Zumagali when he submitted Saika, because, Nurkan, let's just say, dude's the brother of Karshiga Doubtbeck. He's going to probably go on to bigger and better things. But if Ryzen doesn't hold on to the man, they might lose out on him.
Yeah, it's a very good pick, maybe better than mine. So that's definitely a great performance.
Yeah. And, now we can go ahead and happily move on to previewing, at least a little bit previewing, the Ryzen New Year's Eve card. It's in Japanese pronounced as Shiwasu no Choi Suwamono Matsuri, which I think translates to New Year's Powerhouse Festival.
Okay.
Still, though, point of the matter is that's the next event that's going to be taking place for Ryzen. It's the last event of the fight calendar for 2025 as far as major promotions go. And yes, you could say that Ryzen is a major promotion. I mean, especially considering that they're just now getting recognition from all the major fight publications. They're not getting major buzz from any of the major fight blog sites unless they're talking about a UFC push. But still, though, point is, you can now officially say that Ryzen's a major promotion after 10 years of busting their asses. Especially considering the fact that you got 7 fights taking place on this card, 6 of which are title fights. And I'm going to go ahead and mention each fight by way of division first. You got, for the women's super atomweight title, Seika Izawa in her third defense, defending against Reina Kubota, the shoot boxing goddess. to crown the second ever Rising Fighting Federation flyweight champion, Hiromasa Ogikubo, the 2021 Japan Bantamweight Grand Prix tournament winner, versus former two-division deep champion Yuki Motoya. For the Rising Bantamweight title, Naoki Inoue, in his third defense, will face off against the Italian gangster in his own mind, Danny Sabatello. That will be contested at 134 pounds. For the Rising Featherweight title, Rajabali Shadulaev, who currently has one title defense, will be facing off in a rematch of his fight from, actually, no, they never faced off against each other. But the point of the matter is, dude's been steamrolling opponents left, right, and center when he been in Rising. And now Shadulaev is going to face his easiest but possibly toughest test to date when he takes on former featherweight title challenger Mikuru Asakura in his second defense. In a non-title featherweight showcase, you got the first Rising featherweight champion Yutaka Saito taking on Ren Yaman Sugiyama, otherwise known as the King of the Street Fight. That'll be at 146 pounds. For the Rising Lightweight Championship, you got Roberto Satoshi de Souza in his sixth title defense, taking on Shunta Nomura, the Deep Lightweight Champion. And for the Rising Heavyweight title, the Grand Prix winner, Alexander Soldatkin, taking on the former Bellator double champion and former UFC title challenger, Ryan Dart Bader. And as Takumi is also saying, you got the Rising Koshien tournament finals on there as well. So that's two more fights to add, and that adds the total to 9. But as far as the 7 professional fights, 6 title fights on the card, I gotta ask, which one do you think is the most interesting out of those 6?
Wow. There are a bunch of great fights, and you explained it very well. I think the one I'm looking for, interesting. The word interesting itself is interesting. Which, like, if you ask me which fight is most interesting, it might be a different answer than which fight is most significant. Might be a different answer than which fight am I looking forward to. Might be a different answer than which fight do I think is going to be exciting. You know, those might be 4 different answers.
Come to think of it, you got between now and Christmas week to basically say which fight do you think is the more interesting, because I'm pretty sure they're going to add a few more fights on this damn card.
Yeah.
Up the ante. But for now.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm still hyped from the face-off. I love when promotions do that, when they line up, you know, somebody comes off a win. Izawa versus Rena. I'm down. I'm looking forward to that one at the moment, because like I said, I just saw the face-off. I always love watching Rena fight, and I'm fascinated as a gambler to see how the odds are going to open. And so at the moment, that's the one I'm most, think is most interesting. But a lot of these other fights are either significant, great, potential for to be fun, you know, and all of the above.
Yeah, of course. Especially considering the fact that outside of the Soldatkin versus Bader fight, which, let's face it, no one wants to see 15 minutes of just these two slouching around.
Mm-hmm.
But still, though, aside from those 6 fights that are mentioned, aside from the heavyweight title fight, you know, you got a smorgasbord of great fights even bound to happen, especially the Saito versus Yaman fight. That could be something worth watching, too.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But still, though, I think that the fight that's going to catch my eye more is Ogikubo versus Motoya for the flyweight title, especially considering that Ogikubo fought Kyoji Horiguchi, I think, like 3 or 4 times and never won against him. I mean, aside from the 2021 Japan Bantamweight Grand Prix, this could basically be Ogi Kubo's now or never moment. Because when you think about Ogi Kubo, dude's basically been put through the ringer since his career began in 1999. I mean, the dude just wants to. No, and actually, let me check when his career started, but I'm pretty sure the dude's been put through the ringer for the longest amount of time throughout his career, and his career started back in 2006. So for him, what better way for him to start his 20th year as a fighter than to end up being a world champion of a major promotion?
Yeah, and earning it through a 8-man tournament, even better.
Well, 10-man, but still.
Oh, 10-man. Yeah, you're right. It was 8 plus 2. Yeah. Even better then. So I mean, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, especially considering Montoya. I mean, you look at how fantastic the man's career has been, especially considering that he was a 2-division champion for Deep. But, this could be his bridesmaid moment. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I mean, the dude has won 5 of his last 6, so it might as well be seen as his shining moment, so to speak. But still, though, it's just too much to talk about when it comes down to these fights. I mean, it's going to probably be a while before we end up doing the preview for this. And we might have to, pack in back-to-back shows to kick off the 2026 calendar, as in talk about the review and then put over our year-end preview. But still, though, it's just so much to be talking about when it comes down to Ryzen, especially at the end of the year, where they know the UFC ain't got shit.
I like that there's the UFC's last card of the year is on.
It is on December 13th.
Yeah, that's right, December 13th. So, and New Year's Eve is in North America. It's on Wednesday, the 31st. That means on the morning of the 31st, or actually probably late at night on the 30th is when we'll start watching this card.
Yep, exactly. The fight card, as possibly expected, it's going to be starting at 11 p.m. Eastern on December 30th. So right as the local news starts in our area. Well, actually in the Eastern and Central time zones only, but still though. Point is, we got all month to basically speculate and critique which fights are going to be interesting, but I just cannot fucking wait for this fight card. I really can't.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's got a lot of interesting fights. Especially I've been following along very closely this year because I'm going to just mention briefly, I've been running the Ryzen Fantasy League. It's a game 6 of us have been playing where we're predicting, we have certain fighters on the Ryzen roster on our team, and you gain points as the fighters win fights or win by finish, lose points if they get finished. You get bonuses if they win a title or win a tournament. So it's coming down now. This is the last event of the year. It's also the last event of the Ryzen Fantasy League inaugural season. Jay Wolf is a few points in the lead. I'm in second place. Depending on what happens with these title fights, there's a lot of bonus points on the line. It's not quite locked up yet. So, I've been following Ryzen this year, 2025, more closely than I had even in previous years. So I'm very much looking forward to this card because not only is it fun on its own merits, but it also wraps up my game. So looking forward to it for sure.
Of course. And if you see that particular Chyron in the bottom of your screen, if you're watching this, obviously you don't do social media all that much. But can you tell the fans about the Ryzen FF Fans Discord?
Yes, join the Ryzen FF fans Discord. That, if you know what Discord is, it's a chat room. Almost everybody knows it, whether you're playing video games or board games or chatting about sports or anything else. Ryzen FF. Why are you laughing?
I mean, do you really think that
Need to explain what Discord is?
when people get on this, you really think they playing Dungeons and Dragons or something?
Hey, sir, I play board games sometimes over Discord with other people. So yes, there are people
Understood.
playing board games via Discord and talking about computers and probably talking about makeup and makeup tips and talking about baseball and football and everything else. So yeah,
Yeah, of course. But
but video games especially. But in any case,
mhm.
isn't it actually called the We Are Ryzen Discord?
Oh yeah, I think it is called the.
Yeah, the proper name is the We Are Ryzen Discord. It is open to everyone who are fans of Ryzen in particular or Japanese MMA. It is a cool core group of people who follow the sport pretty closely. And it is worth joining if you're cool and you want to talk about Japanese MMA or MMA in general to a certain extent, but especially talking about Ryzen and Japanese MMA.
Oh yeah, of course. And if you're watching that, I mean, you should be listening to the podcast because it's in the description of it, the link for the Ryzen FF Fans Discord. But we can't be talking about the Discord without mentioning the podcast. As Andrew Benjamin, who creeps and crawls through the comment section of these videos, especially when we're doing them live. I mean, he puts out a lot of this content and puts over more of what the Ryzen Fighting Federation does than I think anybody else would ever care to do. I mean, myself included, yourself included, even though you run the fantasy league, but still though. You can check them out on Twitter at We Are Rising Pod and at ABinja1. You can check them out on Instagram at ABinja1. And even though, again, I basically bash him for this, as I literally seen a picture of him dancing around in his skibbies, you can check him out in Fire Island on Hulu, even though, of course, it's the fall months and it's a summer movie. But still, though, if you have some fall memories about that, you can watch that as well. Or you can just search up Andrew Benjamin and see his amateur MMA highlights. But still, though, I had a lot of fun doing this. Oh, and Takumi say RM and thanks. Arigato gozaimasu. Thank you, sir. But still, though, point is, if you want to check out the replay for Ryzen Landmark 12, you can check it out in the description of this podcast, or you can go to Ryzen.tv to check it out yourself so that you can also check out what we've been talking about. If you felt spoiled by this, we're sorry. We're basically doing our best to review what we see. And also, speaking of reviewing or checking out what they're seeing, you can check out Combat Sports Today on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and all these other social media channels that they got, with the exception of TikTok. If you hate the way that the government is really taking things over, that's neither here nor there. I don't really give two fucks about that. But still, though, point is, we're done pretty much talking about Ryzen regularly for the year, but we ask y'all to just wait with us one more month. I mean, I'm going to probably be talking about something other than Ryzen on the next episode of the podcast if you're listening to this. But if you're watching this, just wait one more month and we'll talk about Ryzen on New Year's Eve. If you're really anticipating that, I probably might have something set for that as well. But still, though, point is, We're thankful that y'all are joining us. We're thankful that y'all have, you know, y'all may have other different types of entertainment to watch, especially in the sports world tonight. But we're thankful that you chose us for your evening's entertainment, and we hope that you will. I mean, if you care about Rising just as much as we do, we hope you'll join us next month as we preview the Rising Fighting Federation New Year's Eve card and help put a bow on the 10th anniversary year for the Rising Fighting Federation. As I'm just now seeing viewers just start to come up, but I'm sorry, y'all. We have desperately ran out of time. So for oh wait, and one more thing, JB, do you want to give out any closing thoughts or comments or anything like that?
No, if you join the Ryzen, the We Are Ryzen Discord, it's a great group of people to chat with. Next year, I will probably also be running the Ryzen Fantasy League, and it's just a fun way to. It's not for money; it's just for bragging rights. Just a fun way to, like play fantasy sports, but specifically to Ryzen. So that's something I will be doing next year. I'm in the We Are Ryzen Discord, and that's where you can find me.
Yeah, of course. And even though he wasn't on here tonight, basically just running through the damn gamut of questions, you can check out Jay Wolf on the platforms listed. I mean, on the platforms listed on your screen, or if you're listening to this on the platforms listed in the description of the audio. Oh, and if you like what I'm doing, like what we're doing at Focus Fights and Focus Fights Audio, if you just like me in general, you can check out my links and the links to the Focus Fights link tree in the description. But aside from that, that's about it from us for now. We thank y'all for checking out this review. We are glad you are joining us on the We Are Rising podcast, and we're even thankful you're fans of the Rising Fighting Federation just as much as we are. Until then, peace, my peoples in one love world. Take your. I'm sorry, Jay. I have a problem with closing out the show. Basically, I have my fuck ups when it comes down to finishing my own show as if I were trying to finish out a long, drawn out speech. But
Yeah, it's all good. Thank you for watching, everybody, and thank you for having me, Jay Krish.
you're welcome, JBF. And as always, as I try to say in closing, peace, my peoples in one love world. Protect yourself at all times. Take care of yourself and others. Keep fighting because that's all I really can say. Keep fighting because there has been some news out in the sports world where, you know, and I know this might seem a little sad to mention this, but still, though, just think about this. A guy who scored a touchdown on Monday ended up, committing, I'll say it anyways, committing suicide on Wednesday because he just felt like he wasn't in his right frame of mind. I mean, instead of basically thinking that the world is out to get you, instead of thinking that the world is out basically to hurt you, think about this. The world is much better with you in it than you are without being in it. If you feel the need to call for help, call for help. 988 Suicide National Prevention Lifeline is there to help you. If you need some help in hands, they can definitely help you out. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just getting a little bit emotional. That shit's still fresh in my mind, but still don't. All I gotta say is really keep fighting. Because, like I said, you never know who might hear your story, and your story just might save somebody's life. But that's about it from us for now. We thank y'all for checking out all of what we had to say about the Rising Fighting Federation, and hopefully we'll see y'all later. Till next
Goodbye.
time.